Lucky me. I have received a commission to paint 12 little mini paintings from someone who wanted to buy them. These are little 4x6 paintings that I often paint. And some of them are going to be, or most of them actually, are going to be with the traditional, not traditional, but my signature background, which I'm going to show you how to make right now. First I painted the paper yellow, which is the background color that I use, and you can see on some of them, the cats, we walked across them with their dirty feet, but I don't really care. So now I'm going to use this, which you may think is toilet paper, but actually it's art supplies, yeah. Okay, so anyway, I'm going to spread it across. So that there's some hanging off the edge, and cover each piece of watercolor paper. Now this is single ply. It's the cheap stuff. The best the best kind is, you know, the cheap stuff that you find in the porta potties. But yeah, double ply and all that stuff doesn't work very well because the paint doesn't go through. All right. So it's overlapping just a little bit. And we've got it all covered. Okay. I'm using 4 colors to make this background, and I've mixed up some of the paints already. There's burnt umber, sepia, burnt sienna, and I'm going to use cobalt turquoise. So as I said, I've mixed up some of them already, so I won't take so much time to do this. But you mix them up in your little bathroom cup and just kind of put a dab of paint in the cup. And then you add some water. So you're going to mix the paint real thin so it'll go through the toilet paper, I mean art supplies. And I'm using what's called a mop brush, just a big old fat brush. Mix it up so there's no dabs of paint. It's all dissolved in the water. And then I'm going to dab it onto the little pieces of paper, and let it soak through. Now, I'll be dabbing more than I usually dab on this particular one because there's 12 separate little canvases rather than one big piece of paper. Well, they're not canvas, they're piece of paper. So I want a little bit of this color on each one. All in different places. Let it soak in. You can touch it, the toilet paper, but don't dab too much. Okay, we're just going to use a little. Then I'm going to wash the brush. I'm going to take the next color, which is the burnt sienna, already mixed. And I'm going to put some of that on. And don't forget to overlap what you've already painted on there. Otherwise you get all these little yellow spots. Yellow spots being the background color that I've already painted on there. Next, I'm going to do the burnt umber, and I didn't even bother to wash the brush. Just mix it up in there. All these browns go together pretty well. Now remember, you've only got one more color to go, which is the sepia. So anything that you don't want to be sepia, you fill up with this color. Wow, that one's already full. Whatever. Get it good and soaking wet. Okay, and the last color I'm going to use is the darkest. It's sepia. So I'll fill in everywhere that I haven't got paint on yet with the sepia. After you put these colors on, you let it dry for a while. Depending on the temperature and the humidity, you can let it dry for an hour, you can let it dry for half an hour. If it's in the middle of summer and you're outdoors, it'll take about 15 minutes, at least in Texas, where I am. And then you're going to pull the toilet paper off. If you wait till it gets completely dry, you can't get it off. Forget it. If you don't wait long enough, you're going to lose the textural effects that are the purpose of using it in the first place. So you kind of have to pull up a little sample of it and see if the textural lines stay. If they don't stay, if the watercolor just runs, then it's not, you let it dry some more. And you just leave it until you can pull it up and there's no, and it doesn't run, but it's not completely dry. Okay, now we're gonna let it dry. Okay, it's time to take the paper off. It's so cold and humid today. I've had to leave it for about 3 hours. Okay, that isn't doing so well. Alrighty. I just pull it off layer by layer. And sometimes it comes right off. Sometimes it takes a little more rolling up to get it off. There you go. That's the backgrounds. Now you have to let those fully dry before you can paint on top of them. But you see what it does? It makes all these great lines. These looks like texture. This is the second of the mini paintings that I'm doing as a commission. I already did a video of this one, the Longhorn, and you can see how the paper dried after I put that painted through toilet paper on it. Anyway, I have a whole bunch of these little ones to do. This time I'm going to paint a horse. I'm using a Staedtler Mars Graphic 3000 Duo to draw an outline. It's a watercolor pen. In other words, the ink is water soluble. Okay, I've drawn an outline of a horse. I'm going to use Lucas watercolors. This one I think is called Indian Red. It's just kind of a reddish brown color that I like a lot. When I touch the wet watercolor to the watercolor pen, it kind of blends in. Actually, I'm going to put some more lines on there with the pen. You'll see what it does. Just show a little bit of muscles. I like watercolors because they're transparent. Some of that background actually shows through where I'm painting the horse right now. I like that about watercolors. There you can see I've painted over the watercolor pen in some places, and it just kind of blends in because it's watercolor also. Just easier to control in the form of a pen. Okay. I've painted in the head and the main body of the horse. Now this is just kind of a style that I invented that I normally do. And I'm going to get another brush, whatever's handy. When I do the legs, I'm going to add some motion. I'll show you how I do that. Just take a little water on the clean brush and pull the color out. I only do 2 legs at a time because otherwise the watercolor will dry too much to be able to do that. Okay. Now I'm going to take some black and add a mane and a tail and paint the hooves black, but you kind of have to be careful that your other paint has actually dried before you start adding all this stuff in. Otherwise your black will run into your other paint. Just a touch to indicate where the hooves are. Just a touch of black. And there it is. Finished. Happy painting, happy trails.